advise you of a few housekeeping issues. I'd like to remind members that under Council's remote meeting procedures, this meeting is being live streamed and recorded for archive purposes. Can I also ask all members, except for Cabinet members when confirmed, and group leaders, that your mics and cameras are turned off until you're invited by myself to speak. Should you wish to speak, would you please indicate by raising the hand in the function indication function. If this function ceases to work during the meeting, please indicate in the chat facility that you would like to speak. The chat facility should not be used for any other reason. If attending by telephone, please indicate verbally when appropriate when you wish to speak. With regard to voting on recommendations, if there's no dissent to a recommendation, we will accept your silence as agreement. Should a recorded vote, however, be required, it's the intention that all members be asked individually for their vote. If during the meeting you have any technical difficulties, please let Democratic Services Officer know as soon as possible. So please could you switch off your cameras if not needed at the moment. So it's group leaders and Cabinet members when elected. Thank you. Item number 1, can we have any apologies for absence, please? Councillor Burnett.
Could I give apologies for Wendy Gilligan, please, Mayor, who's absent due to a serious family emergency. I'm sure Council will be pleased to hear that she will be back amongst us in the near future then.
Thank you very much, and our good wishes go with her. Councillor Carroll.
Councillor Russell Godfrey.
Thank you. There be no other apologies for absence. Chief Executive will take the roll call.
Good evening, everybody. If I can start then with Councillor Anne Asprey, please.
Present and nothing to declare.
Thank you. Councillor Julie Aviett.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Gareth Ball.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Rhiannon Birch.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Bronwyn Brooks. Councillor Brooks.
Yeah, present and nothing to declare.
Thank you. Councillor Gillian Bruce.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Ian Buckley.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Liz Burnett.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Samantha Campbell.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor George Carroll.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Christine Cave.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Charles Champion.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Janice Charles.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Millie Collins.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Marianne Cowp.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Pamela Drake.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Vince Driscoll.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Anthony Ernest.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Robert Fisher.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Chris Franks.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Emma Goodjohn.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Ewan Goodjohn.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Stephen Haynes.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Howard Hamilton.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Sally Hanks.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor William Hennessy.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Nick Hodges.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Mark Hooper.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Catherine Iannucci.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Gwyn John.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Ian Johnson.
Presennol, a dim byd o ddagan.
Councillor Susan Lloyd Selby.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Belinda Lovelock Edwards.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Julie Lynch Wilson.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Kevin Marnie.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Naomi Marshalsea.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Michael Morgan.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Jane Norman.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Helen Payne.
Present, and can I declare my Vice Chair of Vale Glamorgan Youth Forum, please, which is a charity? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Elliot Penn.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Sandra Perks.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Ian Perry.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Joanna Prithrow.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Ruba Sivanianam.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Caris Stallard.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Neil Thomas.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Rhys Thomas.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Steffan William.
Presennol ydym byd i'w ddatgan.
Councillor Margaret Wilkinson.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Eddie Williams.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Mark Wilson.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Nicholas Wood.
Present and nothing to declare.
Thank you very much. That concludes the roll call. If we can go on to item 3, which is to elect a mayor for the next municipal year. So do we have any nominations, please? Councillor Iannucci.
Hi, yes, I'd like to nominate Councillor Susan Lloyd Selby as someone with vast experience of standing up for the Vale and its residents and fighting for a fairer community. She's incredibly compassionate and approachable and passionate about making the world a better place. So I can't think of a better person to represent the Vale as our mayor.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for that?
Yes, it's Councillor Perks. I second her.
Thank you, Councillor Perks. Do we have any other nominations? No, in which case I'll ask, I understand that group leaders have indicated that they'll block vote. So can I take that as acceptance unless there's any dissent? Or if there's any dissent from any of the independent members? Councillor Marnie? Councillor Marnie, you indicated you wanted to speak.
Yeah, my apologies, you had the mute on. I'd like to vote against, please.
Okay, thank you. We'll note that. Any other member want to vote in a different way or abstain, of course? No? Okay. On that basis, we will take Councillor Susan Lloyd Selby's nomination as accepted, and we'll move on to the acceptance process. So if I can ask the Mayor to read the declaration of acceptance of office, and then we'll sign the acceptance of office as well.
So I, Susan Lloyd Selby, having been elected to the office of Mayor of the Vale of Glamorgan Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe the code for the time being as to the conduct which is expected of members of the Vale of Glamorgan Council and which may be revised from time to time. So thank you, Councillor Iannucci, for your kind words in nominating me as Mayor, and Councillor Perks for seconding the nomination. My consort will be my husband, Mark Lloyd Selby. It's a great honour to have been elected Mayor, and I look forward to representing the Vale of Glamorgan at events throughout the year. I'm delighted that my 90-year-old dad has been able to join us here in the chamber tonight. He grew up through the war, did his national service in the RAF, and since retirement volunteered in various roles across the Vale. He and his generation demonstrated the importance of service without personal gain. And I've been inspired by him and by all those who give their time freely to serve their local communities, especially now when so many people are struggling with the impact of cost of living increases. It's simply not right that anyone in the Vale finds themselves having to choose between heating and eating. And my focus as Mayor will be to support the work of those that are seeking to tackle poverty in its various forms. There's a strong sense of community here in the Vale. We've all seen how people came together to support those in need through the worst of the pandemic. And so I also want to concentrate on those who give their time freely to provide care, support and friendship, whether that be to family members, neighbours, or those who start as strangers and become friends. Thank you in advance, councillors, for your support. We now move to item 4 on the agenda, to appoint a deputy mayor for the ensuing municipal year in accordance with the provisions of section 24 of the Local Government Act 1972. Are there any nominations for deputy mayor, please? Councillor Margaret Wilkinson.
I'm afraid you're on mute, Councillor.
Sorry about that, it's bound to happen. Sorry, I nominate my fellow councillor, Julie Aviat, who's a hard-working councillor, and she will represent the Vale as deputy mayor and support the mayor. I know that for a fact. So I nominate Julie Aviat, please.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Lovelock-Edwards.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to formally second, please.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations for the deputy mayor? I don't see any. Apologise, I've put myself on mute. I don't see any other hands, so on that basis I assume there are no further nominations. The proposal being carried, I declare that Councillor Julie Aviat has been duly elected as Deputy Mayor for the year 2022 to 2023.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. If I can now ask Councillor Julie Aviat to read the declaration of office, and we'll get Councillor Aviat to sign it at the same time, please.
Sorry, Councillor, on mute.
Sorry. I, Julie Aviat, having been elected to the office of Deputy Mayor of the Vale of Glamorgan Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe the code for the time being as to the conduct which is expected of members of the Vale of Glamorgan Council and which may be revised from time to time.
Deputy Mayor, did you want to say a few words?
Yes, I would just like to say I'm very, very happy to be elected as the Deputy Mayor of the Vale of Glamorgan, and I will be supporting the Mayor in everything that she does. And I would just like to announce my consort will be Mr. Brian Morris.
Thank you. And may I now, on behalf of all members of the Council, offer my thanks to Councillor Jane Norman for the manner in which she's represented the Council during her time in office. Councillor Norman has been Mayor through a very challenging time, and indeed has served for longer than the usual year. I think it's 20 months in total. And through what's been an undoubtedly difficult and challenging time, she's represented the Vale at so many events, I think hundreds of events in your time of office. I checked. So thank you for your hard work, particularly in championing the role of young people. And I wish you all the very best for the future. And I have a gift.
Thank you. First of all, can I thank our new Mayor for her very kind words. It's been a strange 20 months. I've made up my term of office. For a start, the length of time I've actually held a post of Mayor in itself is unusual, in the way everything has to be conducted virtually. All our meetings conducted via internet. We've all become very adept at using Zoom, wearing smart tops with joggers and fluffy slippers below screen level. My first official duty of becoming Mayor was a virtual opening of an elderly residents' care home. And my claim to fame is I was the first Mayor of the Vale of Glamorgan to chair a full council meeting from my own dining room table. It's rather ironic. The first time I get to wear my Mayor's chain of office in the council chamber is also my last. Unfortunately, I've been unable to undertake many of my normal duties as a Mayor would like be called upon to do, like supporting various charitable events and attending many civic occasions. My own civic service was actually held 15 months after its attending date. As restrictions started to ease, I was able to attend a few functions, including some concerts given by Cardiff and the Vale Youth Orchestra and Choirs, a charity fundraising concert given by the Barry Brass Band in support of the people of Ukraine. I was also invited to speak to the Cowbridge Cubs about the role of Mayor, and some of the questions they asked were quite interesting, such as, can you make laws and can you put people in prison? I attended the induction of the new Polish ambassador for Wales and the new High Sheriff of South Glamorgan, the civic services of the few mayors that were able to arrange one before the elections. During the last few months, I hosted a coffee morning for some of the recipients of the funding from the Mayor's charity grants, and a thank you afternoon tea for some of the veterans who turn out and support the Mayor on many, many occasions. I've been very fortunate to have the support of quite a few people during these difficult times, and I owe them all a big thank you. And please, if I miss anyone, don't be offended. To Margaret, my consort and supporter, Charlotte, the Mayor's PA, Father Edwin, my chaplain, Rhiannon, my deputy, Mike, the Mayor's chauffeur, the lovely people in Democratic Services and the ICT staff. Couldn't done it without them. And I wish our new Mayor and her deputy all the good luck for their time in office. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we move on to agenda item 5, announcements from the Mayor or Chief Executive. I don't have any. Chief Executive, no. So we'll move on immediately to the next agenda item, reports of the Chief Executive. Agenda item 6, executive arrangements to elect the leader. Do we have nominations for leader? Councillor Bronwyn Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to nominate Councillor Liz Burnett, who has the vision, the knowledge and the professional qualities to lead this council over the next 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
I would like to second that nomination, please.
Thank you, Councillor Birch. Councillor Nick.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to propose Councillor Ian Johnson.
Thank you for that nomination. Do I have a seconder?
Yes, you do. Councillor Millie Collins will second.
Thank you. Any further nominations? In that case, we will move to a vote. Chief Executive, can I ask you to take us through the voting process, please?
Okay, can I ask Councillor Brooks as the proposer, the Labour vote, please?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to propose the Labour block vote for Councillor Liz Burnett.
Thank you. Can I ask Councillor George Carroll, please, for your vote?
The Conservative group block vote will abstain.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask Nick Hodges as the proposer for the Plaid Cymru block vote, please?
The Plaid Cymru block vote is for Councillor Ian Johnson. 12 points.
Thank you very much. Can I ask Councillor John for the Thantrid Major Independent vote, please?
Thank you, Chief Executive. Our block vote is for Councillor Liz Burnett.
Thank you. And then can I ask the 4 independent members in turn, if I start with Councillor Michael Morgan?
Yes, my vote is for Councillor Liz Burnett.
Thank you. Councillor Perry?
Hi, good evening. I will go for Councillor Ian Johnston.
Thank you. Councillor Campbell?
Councillor Liz Burnett.
Thank you. And Councillor Kevin Marney, please.
Abstain.
Thank you. On that basis, I have 13 abstentions, 9 for Councillor Johnson and 30 for Councillor Liz Burnett. Just looking at my Democratic colleagues.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah. So Councillor Burnett. Yeah.
12 abstentions.
13 abstentions. Councillor Marney abstained. Yeah. Thank you. That's correct. So.
Thank you. Then Councillor Liz Burnett is duly elected leader of the Vale of Glamorgan Council, and can I be the first to offer you my congratulations. And we move on to agenda item 6, part 2, cabinet membership and portfolios. May I hand over to the leader for this item?
It's very strange hearing that and it being me. Can I first say huge congratulations to yourself, Mayor, and also to Deputy Mayor on your appointments. I hope you'll have a really good year in office. And I know in the two of you, we have 2 exceptional individuals who I'm sure will bring a new dimension to the role. Can I thank those councillors who supported my appointment as leader of the council? It's a huge honour to be only the second woman leader, following the much loved and respected Margaret Alexander, and also the first councillor from Penarth to hold this position. However, while I'm a lifelong Penarthian, I'm hugely privileged to represent the whole Vale, a special place with each town and community having its own identity and culture, which will be reflected in our plans going forward. I'd like to thank Councillor Gwyn John and Llantwit First colleagues, as well as Councillor Michael Morgan, for joining with us to form a coalition that will provide a stable administration for the Vale of Glamorgan Council. Working in coalition is actually fairly straightforward when the focus of any decision is what is right for the people of the Vale. In forming this coalition, we will be representative of the communities we serve, whether by gender or geography. It feels slightly strange with so many colleagues missing who've given years of dedicated service to this council. But I'd like to welcome the many new councillors, in fact 50% of us, onto the council, and look forward to working collaboratively and in cooperation, as I think would be expected by our residents. We've got a very ambitious manifesto that we'll now seek to deliver, and I'm only too aware of the challenges that lie ahead. We must remember the many vulnerable members of our society who rely upon our services, and they must be protected. At the end of this term, we will be only 3 years away from our target of achieving zero carbon for the Vale. I know that councillors will have to take some very difficult decisions, and I know that those decisions will be made for the good of the many, not the few. I look forward to working with everyone here tonight. And on that note, it lies before me to inform Council of the names of the councillors chosen to be deputy leader and members of the cabinet, together with their portfolios, and also the details of the designated champion roles. So in terms of the portfolio, the supplementary information that's been sent out has actually given the portfolio details, but I would like to go through the portfolio holders. And as Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Sustainable Places, it will be taken forward by Councillor Bronwyn Brooks. And I think we've long talked about our frustration where housing developers fail to provide essential infrastructure for our communities, and how some communities lack the basic facilities they need. In a challenging and wide-ranging portfolio, Bronwyn will drive this agenda forward with cross-cutting themes of climate change and biodiversity policy. Councillor Eddie Williams, I'm delighted to say, has agreed to take on the challenge of social care and health, which provides services to some of our most vulnerable residents. And in an expanded portfolio, he'll be working with others to explore different models of service delivery, and also to ensure that we map infrastructure needs in relation to health and social care. The Cabinet Member for Education, Arts and the Welsh Language will be Rhiannon Birch, who, as well as driving forward our school building and renovation programme, will be working with schools to explore how they can support their wider communities. And she'll also be developing arts provision in the Vale to support well-being. Margaret Wilkinson will be Cabinet Member for Public Sector Housing and Tenant Engagement, and having made big strides in delivering new housing and renovating existing stock across the Vale, Margaret will expand her portfolio to include tenant engagement, so that people in our homes will have a stake in their community. Mark Wilson will take on the portfolio of neighbourhood and building services, and after 2 terms as an impressive chair of Corporate Performance and Resources Scrutiny Committee, Mark will have oversight of the services that form a fundamental part of our communities. The Cabinet Member for Community Engagement, Equalities and Regulatory Services will be Ruba Sivanyanam. It's an exciting portfolio which demonstrates our commitment to community engagement and also to equalities, which is not about ticking boxes in the last few pages of Cabinet reports. Engagement will be a fundamental part of the local development plan going forward, which is why it's also part of Ruba's portfolio. And finally, to Gwyn John, who I've had the pleasure of serving alongside off and on since 2012. And Gwyn's portfolio, alongside responsibility for sport and play, Gwyn will be working with Public Health Wales and Cardiff and the Vale University Health Board on the wellbeing collaboration, knowing how much that plays. The cross-portfolio responsibility for engagement is deliberate. And while Ruba will take the lead, Cabinet members will be working across portfolios to break down silos. So that's the Cabinet members' details. In the supplemental information you've been provided, there are details of the champion roles, and there is a slight move away from champions being usually Cabinet members and recognising the talents and passions of colleagues. The champions will be working alongside Cabinet members to add value and raise awareness of their champion, of the issues within their champion roles. So I think we'll be seeing a lot more of those going forward. Looking at paragraph 2.1, it details the number of senior salaries that are being paid, and it indicates that there will be 16 out of the 18 that are available. I would like to make an amendment to that. Council will know that we would normally adopt the independent remuneration panel's recommendations in full, and within that there is a recommendation that the leader of any group with more than 10% of the council membership within that group would receive a senior salary. There is a precedent that happened in 2016, and so it is the intention to amend what was an omission within the report and award a senior salary to the leader of the Plaid Cymru group within this. So with that in mind, there are a number of recommendations before us. Recommendation 1 is that the names of the councillors chosen to be deputy leader and members of the cabinet, along with details of their portfolios, which are in Appendix A, together with the designated champion roles as set out in the supplementary information which was circulated earlier, be noted, and that we approve the chair of scrutiny committee and vice chair's group and chair of democratic. I forgot to mention that in terms of champions, if you look at paragraph 2.4, it does say that there are 2 specific champions. One is the scrutiny champion, which is chair of the scrutiny committee, chairs and vice chairs group, and the member development champion, which is the chair of the democratic services committee. So that refers back to that the chair of the scrutiny committee, chairs and vice chairs group, and the chair of democratic services committee continue to be designated the council's scrutiny and member development champions respectively, and that recommendation 3 is that the council's payment of senior salaries for 2022-23 be as set out within paragraph 2.1 of the report, with the amendment to include the leader of the Plaid Cymru group as a result of them going above the 10% threshold as indicated by the independent remuneration panel. So I would therefore move.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to second those recommendations as laid out by the Leader, Councillor Burnett.
Thank you. So we have 3 recommendations before us. I have no hands up, and so I will assume that recommendation 1 is duly noted and recommendations 2 and 3 have been approved by Council. Thank you. So we move on to agenda item 7, non-executive arrangements. And again, can I ask the Leader to take us through this report, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, and I'll try to do it without missing a bit this time. So yes, this is to allocate the appointment of the 5 scrutiny committee chair positions. And as existing members, and hopefully new members, would be aware that the allocation is made in proportion to the number of seats that each group holds. Attached at Appendix A are the calculations relating to the political balance, and so and paragraph 1.2 explains the true entitlement to scrutiny seats on scrutiny committees for each group, and lays that out. Members will note that each political group is required to give up 1 seat of the council's council's 5 scrutiny committees, so that each group can reach their legal entitlement of seats across all 5 of the scrutiny committees. And in doing so, the Labour group has given up 1 seat on Homes and Safe Communities scrutiny. The Conservative group have also given up 1 seat on the Homes and Safe Communities scrutiny. Plaid Cymru have given up 1 seat on Homes and Safe Communities scrutiny, and Llantwit First Independence has given up 1 seat on Environment and Regeneration scrutiny committee. Those 4 seats, the allocation of those, will be set, or has been set out in the further supplementary information which was circulated to members prior to this meeting. And from that, Councillor Campbell will be taking up the Homes and Safe Communities Scrutiny Committee committee place, as will Councillor Morgan, and Councillor Perry is taking up the Environment and Regeneration Scrutiny Committee. A further seat on the Homes and Safe Communities scrutiny will be left vacant, as it's not been taken up. Attached to Appendix B is an extract from Section 7 of the Council's Constitution, which sets out the terms of reference, general role and specific functions of the scrutiny committee, and as was mentioned, the membership of the scrutiny committees has been circulated prior to the meeting in supplementary information based on information that was provided by the group leaders. And as you'll see, how the seats were allocated is provided in Appendix A to that. So having seen the supplementary information that was provided, scrutiny will be aware that the chair of Corporate Performance and Resources Scrutiny will be Councillor Joe Prothero, Environment and Regeneration, Councillor Sandra Perks, Healthy Living and Social Care will be Councillor Janice Charles, Learning and Culture, Councillor Rhys Thomas, and the Homes and Safe Communities Scrutiny Committee will be retained by Councillor Amelia Collins. So recommendations that are before us this evening we have 4, and that is that council notes seats which have been given up by the respective group leaders in order that they achieve their legal entitlement to seats on the council scrutiny committees as indicated within the supplementary information. And as I said, that was Labour on Homes and Safe Communities, Conservatives Homes and Safe Communities, Plaid Cymru on Homes and Safe Communities scrutiny, and Llantwit First on Environment and Regeneration. That council endorses with the allocation of 1 vacant seat to each of the independent members of the council as set out in the supplementary information. 3, that the scrutiny committees, together with their membership and terms of reference, be approved for the ensuing municipal year as set out in the supplementary information. And 4, that the council note the allocation of specific scrutiny committee chairs as notified by the relevant group leaders as set out in paragraphs 2.1 to 2.3 of the report. And I would so move.
Thank you, Leader. So there are 4 recommendations before the council. Recommendation 1 is for us to note. Oh, I beg your pardon, Councillor Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to second those recommendations as laid out by the leader. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks. I was a little bit too keen there. So recommendation 1 is for council to note. Recommendation 2 is for council to endorse. Recommendation 3 is for the council's approval. And recommendation 4 is for council to note. I see no hands, no councillors wanting to speak on those issues, and so we will assume that those recommendations are all approved. Thank you. And we move on to agenda item 8, quasi-judicial committees and other bodies, the appointment to various committees. And again, I will ask the leader to take us through this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, as you said, the purpose of this report is to appoint the quasi-judicial committees and other bodies together with their terms of reference for the forthcoming municipal year. So in much the same way as with the scrutinies, attached to Appendix A is the calculation relating to the political balance requirement for the committees, and attached at Appendix B is a list of the quasi-judicial committees and other bodies together with existing terms of reference, because a lot of them have slightly different terms of reference which council would be aware. For instance, if you look at the planning, it has to have no fewer than 11 members, no more than 21 members, and also where wards have more than 1 elected member, only 1 member may sit. So, as I said, in terms of the terms of reference of the committees, they are laid out before you. Two things that I need to mention here. Hang on, if I can just juggle my bits of paper. Is firstly, if you look at, first of all, I need to add under R to that. The Standards Committee Appointments Panel. You've had the supplementary information recently circulated, which gives the membership of that as from the Labour group, Councillor Joe Prothero, from the Conservative group, Councillor Christine Cave, from the Plaid Cymru group, Councillor Nick Hodges, and from Llantwit First, Councillor Gwyn John. In terms of Z, virtually the final thing in the report, looking at the local authority trading company, the Big Fresh Catering Company, to add in the representatives on that for that company is the corporate resources and the executive leader and cabinet member for performance and resources, who will represent the council as the shareholder of the company and who will be advised by a shareholder advisory panel consisting of council officers. So that is making sure that the membership of the representation for that committee is straight. I also need to make one slight amendment on the supplementary information that was provided on the committee membership on K, Community Liaison Committee, where there are 13 members. Councillor Caris Stallard from the Labour Group will be replaced by Councillor Julie Lynch-Wilson on that committee. So the recommendations on this before you this evening are, firstly, that the quasi-judicial committees and other bodies, together with their terms of reference, which is at Appendix B, and membership as set out in the supplementary information as circulated prior to the meeting, and as amended within this meeting, be appointed for the ensuing municipal year. 2, that having regard to the Planning Committee and the Governance and Audit Committee, membership be agreed as outlined in paragraphs 2.4 and 2.6 of the report. And as I mentioned, planning 2.6 is looking to the statutory guidance when determining the governance and audit membership, and that was laid out in paragraph 2.6. And finally, to approve the amendment to the shareholder representation for the Big Fresh catering company, and I would so move.
Councillor Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to accept the recommendation as laid out by the
Thank you, Councillor Brooks. So we have 3 recommendations. Recommendation 1 to agree appointments. Recommendation 2 for agreement. Recommendation 3 for approval. I see no hands, and so those recommendations are agreed. Thank you, councillors. Moving on to agenda item 9, to note the dates of ordinary meetings of the council to be held in the ensuing municipal year. Leader, do you want to move?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, if I can move that the dates as laid out, the 18th of July 2022, 26th of September 2022, the 5th of December 2022 and the 6th of March 2023, alongside the 24th of April 2023, are the meetings of the full council for next year, and I'd move.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks.
And I'll second that.
Thank you. I see no hands, so we move on to agenda item 10, to elect chairs and vice chairs of various committees for the ensuing municipal year. And we'll work through these one by one. So we start with appeals. Are there any nominations for chair?
Could I nominate Councillor Ian Buckley, Mayor?
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Brooks.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other nominations? Duly elected. Moving on, community liaison nominations for chair.
Could I nominate Councillor Sally Hanks, please, Mayor?
Oh.
And I'll second that, Mayor.
I apologise. Again, I've jumped ahead of myself. Forgive me, first meeting. So we have elected a chair for the appeals committee, but we also need to elect a vice chair. So thank you for bearing with me. Is there a nomination for vice chair, please, for the appeals committee?
Could I nominate Councillor Susan Lloyd-Selby, please, Mayor?
And
Thank you, Councillor Brooks. I see no hands, so I am duly elected. Thank you. Moving on to Community Liaison Committee, nominations for Chair.
That was Councillor Sally Hanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a seconder?
And I'll second that.
Thank you. Any other nominations? Duly elected. Nominations for Vice Chair of Community Liaison, please.
Councillor Mark Wilson, Mayor.
And I'll second that.
Thank you. Any other nominations? Duly elected. Democratic Services. Is there a nomination for Chair, please? And I'll bring in Councillor Nick Hodges first.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move Councillor Ian Johnson.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that nomination?
I'd like to second it. Councillor Collins.
Thank you, Councillor Collins. Councillor Charles, do you want to come in?
I'd like to nominate Stephen Haynes.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that nomination?
I'll second it, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Carroll. Are there any other nominations for Chair for Democratic Services? No, then we move to a vote, and can I ask the Chief Executive to take us through that process, please?
Okay, can I start, please, by asking Leader of the Labour Group for their vote, Ian Johnson or Stephen Haynes?
The vote of the Labour Group will be for Councillor Ian Johnson.
If I can ask Councillor Carroll, please.
Councillor Stephen Haynes.
If I can ask Councillor Gwyn John.
Councillor Ian Johnson.
And if I can ask Councillor Ian Johnson for the vote of the Plaid Cymru group. Sorry, I have to ask.
Probably goes unsaid, but I vote for myself. Thank you.
Thank you. And can I ask Councillor Perry, please?
Yeah, I'll vote for Councillor Ian Johnston.
Thank you. Can I ask Councillor Marnie?
I'll abstain, please.
Councillor Campbell?
Councillor Ian Johnson.
And Councillor Morgan, please.
Councillor Ian Johnson, please.
Thank you.
And I make that 39 for Ian Johnson and 13 for Stephen Haynes.
Okay, thank you. I made it 39-12 and 1 abstention.
You're absolutely right. It's 12 as opposed to 13 for the Conservatives voting tonight. So yes, I agree with that.
So Councillor Ian Johnson is elected as the Chair of Democratic Services Committee, Mayor.
Thank you for that confirmation. Congratulations, Councillor. And we move on now, I think, to Vice Chair for Democratic Services. Can I take nominations? Councillor Charles, please.
I'd like to nominate Councillor George Carroll.
Thank you. And is there a seconder?
Sorry, could I nominate Councillor Stephen Haynes, please?
Can I take a seconder for the first nomination first, please?
I'll second for the first.
Councillor Charles, could you just say again who you're nominating as the Vice Chair of Democratic Services, please?
Stephen Haynes.
So we have Stephen Haynes nominated and seconded, and then Councillor Carroll, you're nominating.
I was nominating Councillor Haynes as well, but he's already been nominated and seconded.
Right, fine. So we have one nomination. Thank you. Any other nominations for that position? No. In that case, that is duly agreed. And we can move on to discretionary housing payments review. Nominations for chair, please.
Could I nominate Councillor Howard Hamilton, Mayor?
And I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other nominations for chair of discretionary housing payments review? No, then Councillor Hamilton is duly elected. Nominations for vice chair, please.
Could I nominate Councillor Julie Lynch-Wilson, Mayor, please?
And I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other nominations? Then Councillor Lynch-Wilson is duly elected. Thank you. Move on to early retirement and redundancy. Nominations for chair, please.
Could I nominate Pam Drake, please?
That was Councillor Hamilton, I believe, with
Yes.
that nomination. Yep. Thank you. Is there a seconder for the nomination?
And I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks. Any other nominations? Then Councillor Drake is duly elected. Nominations for Vice Chair of Early Retirement and Redundancy.
Could I nominate Councillor Howard Hamilton, please?
And I'll second that.
Thank you. Any other nominations? Duly elected. Glamorgan Heritage Coast Advisory Group. Nominations for Chair, please.
Could I nominate Councillor Caris Stallard, please, Mayor?
Thank you.
And I'll second that.
Thank you. Any other nominations? Duly elected. Am I going too quickly? Good. Okay. Nominations for Vice Chair, please. Glamorgan Heritage Coast Advisory Group.
Could I nominate Councillor Emma Goodjohn, please?
And I'll second that.
Thank you. I see no other nominations, so Councillor Goodjohn, Emma Goodjohn is elected. Investigating nominations for chair.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Helen Payne, please.
And I'll second that.
Thank you. I see no other nominations, so elected. And vice chair.
Councillor Catherine Iannucci, please, please, Mayor.
And I'll second that.
Thank you again. No other nominations, so duly elected. We move on to planning. Nominations for chair, please.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Neil Thomas, please, Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a seconder?
Second that, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson.
Hoffman and Webby, Nick Hodges. I'd like to nominate Councillor Nick Hodges, Chair of Planning.
Thank you. Is there a seconder?
Yes, I'd like to second it. I'd like to second that.
Councillor Collins?
Yes.
Thank you. So we have two nominations for Chair of Planning. I see no other nominations. So Chief Executive, could you take us through the vote, please?
Can I ask Councillor Burnett, please, for the Labour Group vote?
The Labour Group vote will be for Councillor Thomas.
Can I ask Councillor John, please, for the Fountain Major Independent vote?
Councillor Thomas.
Can I ask Councillor Johnson, please, for the Plaid Cymru vote?
Councillor Nick Hodges, King Cardiff Nick Hodges.
Councillor Carroll, can I have the Conservative Group vote?
Abstain.
Councillor Ian Perry, please.
Aye, yeah. Well, it's decided already, so it doesn't matter. I'll just abstain. Sorry.
Okay, no need to apologise. Councillor Marnie.
Yeah, I'm abstaining.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Campbell.
Councillor Hodges.
And Councillor Morgan, please.
Councillor Hodges, please.
Okay, I make that 14 abstentions, 10 for Councillor Hodges and 28 for Councillor Thomas.
I agree.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chief Exec. Councillor Thomas is duly elected. Can I have nominations for Vice Chair of Planning, please?
Could I nominate Councillor Sandra Perks, please, Mayor?
And I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson.
Hoffman and Webby, King Cardiff Nick Hodges. I'd like to nominate Councillor Nick Hodges.
And is there a seconder?
Yes, Councillor Collins seconding.
Thank you. So again, if I can ask the Chief Executive to take us through the vote.
Can I ask Councillor Burnett, please, for the Labour Group vote?
The Labour Group vote would be for Councillor Perks.
Thank you. Can I ask Councillor Carroll, please?
Abstain.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson, Plaid Cymru vote?
King Hodges, Nick Hodges.
Diolch, thank you. Councillor Gwyn John, Llantwit First Independent Group, please.
Councillor Perks.
Thank you. Councillor Perry.
Hi there. I'll vote this time for Councillor Nick Hodges.
Thank you. Councillor Morgan.
Councillor Nick Hodges, please.
Thank you. Councillor Marnie.
Abstain.
Thank you. And Councillor Campbell, please.
Councillor Nick Hodges.
Thank you very much. I make that 28 for Councillor Perks, 11 for Councillor Hodges and 13 abstentions.
I agree.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, councillors. Councillor Perks is duly elected Vice Chair of Planning. Move on to Public Protection Licensing. Nominations for Chair, please.
Could I nominate Councillor Pamela Drake, Mayor?
And I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you. I see no other nominations, so Councillor Drake is duly elected. And nominations for Vice Chair, please.
And our nomination for Vice Chair would be Councillor Jane Norman, please, Mayor.
And I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you. No other nominations, so Councillor Norman is duly elected. Moving on to senior management appointments. I believe this is chaired by the leader and deputy leader. Is that correct?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes.
That's the usual chair and vice chair.
Thank you. So we can move on to statutory licensing. Nominations for chair, please.
These are usually the same as the public protection, so we would nominate Councillor Pamela Drake for chair.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you. No other nominations, so duly elected. And nominations for vice chair?
And Councillor Jane Norman.
Is seconded. Thank you. Thank you. No other nominations, so elected. Moving on to trust. Nominations for chair?
Our nomination would be for Councillor Howard Hamilton.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you. No other nominations, so duly elected. And nominations for vice chair?
Our nomination.
Sorry, I beg your pardon.
Our nomination.
Sorry, is there a councillor? If a councillor wants to speak, could you put your hand up so I can see if somebody wants to come in? No, I'm seeing no hands, so we'll come back to nominations for chair, which I believe came from the leader.
Yes, that was
Councillor Hamilton.
Yeah.
I'll
seconded that, by Councillor Brooks. Are there any other nominations? No, thank you. So duly elected. Nominations for Vice Chair of Trust.
Can I nominate Councillor Mark Wilson, please, Mayor?
And I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you. No other nominations, so duly elected. And then Voluntary Sector Joint Liaison Committee, nominations for Chair.
Can I nominate Councillor Rhiannon Birch, please, Mayor?
And I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you. No other nominations, so duly elected. Nominations for Vice Chair.
Can I nominate Councillor Susan Lloyd Selby, Mayor?
And I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you. No other nominations, so I have the interesting job of declaring myself elected. And then finally, Welsh Church Act Estate, nominations for chair.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Mark Wilson, please, Mayor.
And I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you. I see no other nominations, so elected. And nominations for Vice Chair.
Can I nominate Councillor Pamela Drake, please, Mayor?
And I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you. And again, I see no other nominations, so Councillor Drake is duly elected. Thank you, councillors. We then move on to agenda item 11. Any other items which the Mayor has decided are urgent? You'll be glad to know that I don't have any, at least on this occasion. That brings us to the end of part 1 of the annual general meeting. I'm not aware that there are any part 2 items, Chief Exec. No. So that brings us to the end of the meeting. Can I thank all councillors for their attendance and for bearing with me on my first meeting as Mayor. Thank you very much and good night. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Congratulations to all appointed and to you.
Congratulations, Susan. That was